So do you remember ever feeling stage fright, or is that not a thing that's ever existed for Brittany Laurelle?
I was going to say, that's actually really interesting because I don't think I ever thought about it in that way. I don't think I ever, when I was a kid, I don't think stage fright was a thing. I think we had a responsibility. Like I knew what I was supposed to be doing. Like I'm going to tell this story. I think probably around elementary school age, I started doing storytelling contests. So I think that's where it started. Yeah. Like before I even attached it or thought about it in relation to acting, I started with storytelling. I think it's not really until you get older and you start studying and you start training and you start to get told that there's a right and a wrong way to approach things. That's kind of when you start to, some of that can creep in. But I think as a kid, I was like, let me tell you the story. Like, let me share this with you. It'll be great. You know, that was kind of more my think of art as spirit work. You know, it's spiritual, it's intuitive, it's like all of those things. But when you're in an environment like that, you know, there are deliverables. Like there's work that you have to do, you know, and the discipline is not only in the showing up and doing your classwork every day and learning, but it's also in the work that you do before class, the work that you do to prepare for class, prepare for your shows. So I think it taught me a lot about the finding the balance between being creative and desire to learn and to evolve in your work and being critical of the work. You know, like you know, especially like in the acting part of that school, you know, you would go up, you would do your monologues, you would do your scene work, and we would talk about it. You know, we would challenge each other on it. And that was normal. Like it wasn't, you know, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive, and I know that's a layer of it, but we got to talk about the work and challenge each other on it. And that was normal. Like at 14, you know, especially like if you ever see, just talking about storytelling for a second, a Harlem resident, like someone who is from Harlem, not an implant, but someone who is from here, whether they are a child or someone, you know, who's in your grandma's generation, there is an energy and a magnetism and a desire to pull you into the story. I feel like we stand on that. I feel like artists that are from Harlem especially, like we're aware of our history. Like we know what happened here. So while there is a responsibility, there's also like I'm standing on the shoulders of legends. Like I'm walking the streets. I grew up in the streets where some of the most amazing things were happening creatively and politically. You know, I think ultimately a good storyteller is really good at telling the truth. That's what I think. And the truth of every moment. Really honoring the truth of a moment, especially when it's uncomfortable, right? I think some of the best storytellers are really good at observing human behavior, and not foregoing the truth of a moment in order to write the bad and the ugly. Thank you, Dee. But yeah, the good, bad, and the ugly. Not foregoing the moment, the truth of a moment in order to submit to what might be more aesthetically pleasing, what might better accommodate, you know, a specific group of people. Like it's not presentational. Like that's the thing. It's not performative. It's really about honoring the truth of a moment and honoring the story you're really trying to tell in full. I think for me lately, I've been thinking a lot about like a phrase and one word. So I've been thinking a lot about the word leadership, like what it means to be a leader. And I've been writing actually quite a bit around that. And also what it means to lead with love. What does that actually mean? Especially I've been finding myself in a lot of places and a lot of conversations lately, or working with different groups or collaborating in different ways. And I've had people using that word around me, to me, or, you know, or asking like how I feel about the current leaders. Like, we won't get into that. Like, And it's put me in that position where I've understood the importance, kind of to that point when that I referenced when I was in high school, about the ability to be critical of people and critical of work and critical of art. You know, I feel like a lot of people talk about leading with love and feel like you're supposed to be very careful and or like there's this idea of uh, operating with kid gloves on, or love being something that's only rainbows and puppies and all these things. But I think sometimes, say that again?
Something that feels good all the time.
Yeah. But I'm like, maybe leading with love is sometimes critical and sometimes calls you to the table and sometimes challenges you, right? And sometimes, so I think I've been playing a lot about playing with what leadership, being a leader, and leading with love actually means. Start with that.
Yeah.
You know, tokenism is such an interesting word. And in fact, in some of the panels and things that I've been asked to speak in, I've been asked about that word, right? And what my experiences are with it, what I believe to be true about it in the theater world, in performing arts, and wherever. And I think the onus falls on two people, right? I think it falls on the institutions that are reaching certain people to come and speak. I know for myself, I can say I don't say yes to everything, right? You know me pretty well. You know I don't say yes to everything. You know, like I'm going to ask a lot of questions before I determine whether something is the right thing for me to be doing. And I think that I don't have a lot of ego, even though I am that way about it and I'm intentional about who I work with and why. I don't, it's not from a place of ego that I inquire. It's more from a place of, do I truly think that that me coming to speak in this way or at this time will be of value to you or me or anyone else that will be watching? Do I think there's value? Where do I see the value? And when you ask a lot of questions, you're able to quickly break down what people's intentions are, right? Yeah. You get clarity on, has this institution or organization that is asking me to come and speak done any work surrounding the topic? Or are you just going for the easy grabs if I'm going to pick these specific people who I know are already doing the work and figuring out ways to extract from them for my own selfish trend chasing benefit?
A poetry EP called The Beacon and the Blessing,
Yes.
which is available on YouTube. And there was a visual that you partnered with an artist on. And I'm going to pull it up here because I actually think I'm going to be able to play it. So I'm curious. I mean, I love seeing when people are collaborating across disciplines. So what was your process in finding this illustrator? And did you have a visual in mind when you were writing this poetry?
Ooh, yes. That's all very good questions. First things first, I wrote this piece quite some time ago. And when I was writing it, I did have a very clear vision in my head of who the characters were and what their experiences of each other were and how big. I mean, the piece is called Heart to Heart Live at the Show, right? Like, it's about the heart. There's no way around that. So that's one part of the conversation. And I kept thinking, so I kept getting such good feedback on the piece. I'd like let a snippet of it go on Instagram. People had so much to say about it. People responded so well. So I was like, I think there's more that we have to do with it. But I was trying to determine what that looked like. I was like, is it dancers moving to it? Is it, do I direct a scene? Is it scene work? What does that look like? What is it? And I promise you, out of the clear blue sky, I was like, actually, I think it's a visual and it's some sort of illustration. And I know tons of visual artists, yourself included, and I also know you're the major plug where visual artists are concerned. But it was interesting because the more I thought about it, I was like, I think Steven Davis is the person for this. Like, it came to my head out of the clear blue sky. And it wasn't, believe it or not, he's a brilliant illustrator. I was familiar with his work. We had known each other for quite some time and didn't actually meet because of art. We met because we were in a leadership program together, right? But somehow I felt like he was the right person to help tell the story. And it wasn't necessarily even because I saw his illustrations and were like, I want something like that. It was literally like, I just feel like he's the one. And like most artists, I have to tell this story. Like most artists, it was very hard to track him down when I was ready for this piece to happen.
Yeah.
And I sent him a couple of messages and I was like, Steven, I need you. I want you to work on something with me. I want to know, like, if you're available, blah, blah, blah. He's super booked, whatever, right? As I'm telling the truth, Steven, I'm telling on you. And he's super booked. So I'm like, but here's the other thing. I'm like, I only want to work with people who, when they hear the piece, feel like I have something to say. Like, I think I can help do this. So when I sent it to him, when we finally were able to connect, I was like, I'm going to send this to you. I want you to really listen to it. And I also want to give you a quick blurb. It's about soulmates, and I think they're reconnecting and they're coming back to each other, or they're meeting for the first time, or re-meeting because they met in a past life. Like, you know, I'm giving him this like high-level blurb. And I'm like, and if you listen to this and you feel like you can create something, then let's do it, right? So he listens to it. He's like, yes, I want to do this. So I literally gave a very high level idea of what I wanted it to be. I said, it has to be brown people. This is a Black love story. I need that, right? It's love, it's soulmates, it's energy, it's all of these things. But I also gave him a lot of room to work. And I was like, let's check back in a week. I want to see where you are, and we'll take it from there. And we checked back in, and he gave me the initial draft and his own like kind of blurb about like expounding on what I said, like his own kind of blurb of story about it. And it was beautiful. I was like, this is exactly it. Without having seen this specific visual in my head, not only was the visual spot on, but his interpretation and understanding of it, his expansion on my initial story was perfect. And the only thing I knew ahead of time was that I did want the illustrator to be a Black man. I did want that. Though I understand that we have both divine feminine and divine masculine energies within us, I felt in my writing of this piece and my telling of this piece, I was speaking primarily from divine feminine energy. And I wanted that divine masculine energy to kind of come in and like match what I was doing. And I promise you, this was another kind of stroke of intuition, because I actually, again, didn't see anything that Steven was doing that necessarily specifically said this, but somehow I felt like he would get it, and he did. And it was beautiful. I was so grateful. So I'm at Who is Brittany Laurelle. It's on this here Instagram machine, this here Instagram device. So find me there. It's Who is Brittany Laurelle everywhere. It's Brittany Laurelle everywhere.
So much appreciate you.
And thank you so much.
Yeah, you're such a pleasure. Much love.